Hi, today we will be interviewing Shannon Giuliani and Michelle Gardner, two EMTs.
Okay, so could you guys briefly introduce yourselves?
Hi, my name's Michelle Gardner, and I am the Training Center Coordinator here at South Branch. I am also a full-time EMT.
Hi, my name is Shannon Giuliani. I am one of the EMT instructors here at South Branch, and I am also one of the EMTs that rides on the ambulance.
Nice. And could you guys briefly describe what an EMT is and what they do?
Sure. So EMT stands for Emergency Medical Technician, and we go out into the field for whatever somebody could call for. It could be a medical emergency, it could be trauma, it could be a behavioral emergency, and we respond in our ambulance with our equipment. We're trained to handle all different situations, which includes, treating the patient, maybe giving medications, making sure we figure out what's wrong with them so we can do the correct treatments. We lift them, we move them, drive to the hospital. In cases of trauma, bleeding control is of the utmost importance, and then airway management, and making sure we're treating patients for shock. So from any given time, you're not sure what your next call could be, but we're ready 24/7 to handle whatever comes along.
Thank you for that. What did your guys' path to becoming EMTs look like?
Wow. Okay. So you mean like back when I started?
Yeah, like all the way up from like when you were first interested and like to now.
Okay. So my path was kind of, it's something I wanted to do during high school, but I was busy with like marching band and other things. And so when I graduated high school, I think it was like 21, I was like, oh, now I have an opportunity to volunteer. So I went to the Flemington Raritan Rescue Squad and I signed up with them. I became a third and rode on the ambulance as a trainee. And then I was lucky enough that they were starting a class, maybe, I don't know, it was like a month after I joined. So I was able to get in that class, completed the course, which maybe Michelle will remember better the amount of hours it was back then, but I think it was like 120 hours.
Yeah, it was like 110, 120.
Yeah, so I completed that, and then I rode a lot, pretty much like Monday and Friday nights. I got to see a lot and kind of got a battlefield promotion and became a second real quick. And they, but yeah, I'd taken courses and then my refresher classes, keeping up all my certs and CEUs. So that was kind of my path. It was something I always wanted to do. And then I finally went and did it, and I've been doing it ever since, and I love it. So.
How long ago was that?
I joined Flemington in 2005. Okay. Got my EMT, I think 2005 or 6, because I forget if it was the end of the year or the beginning. Yeah. So, yep. And then I've been working here at South Branch for 18 years. So yeah, it's been a while. So your path.
All right. So I started as an adult learner. So my kids had grown up. They were all in school full time, and I'm like, what am I going to do? So I joined my local rescue squad, and I told everybody who would listen that I was going to do it. So once I told enough people, I had to follow through. Started as a volunteer. I became an officer on my squad, and I really enjoyed what I was doing. I started doing transport, which I enjoyed. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but I enjoyed getting to know my patients, usually elderly people that you would get to see all the time. And so then I started working here per diem. It was a 911 service, and that was almost 20 years ago. And I had become an instructor. When I went through EMT, one of my instructors said, I think you would make a good instructor. And I was flattered and very happy because it was somebody I really respected. So I took that pathway And I never would have told you I would be running a training center at this point had you asked me back then. So it definitely is something, if you like it, I enjoy every day coming to work. Well, most days, nobody likes it 100%. But I love teaching. I love riding the truck. I like learning new things. And I'm very fortunate to be here and be riding with people that I like and working with students who are pretty awesome. So.
Nice. And was there like a specific moment for either of you that like made you interested in emergency medicine?
So it's funny because when I was in high school, I volunteered at the hospital like as a candy striper. So I've always had like a medical, like I thought it was fun and interesting, but never pursued it. So I literally was on my front porch, and a few houses down from me, a car had got stuck in reverse and it was spinning in circles. And it was actually entertaining to whatever, you know, and the police and the fire department and EMS showed up, and they ended up being able to stop the car. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to join the squad. And I'm not sure what it was about that moment, but I was like, that was what I wanted to do. And again, I went to my local volunteer squad. I joined there. And then the rest is history.
That's cool. Nice.
For me, I would say my grandmother had fallen and she wound up breaking her hip, and so the squad came, and they needed help like getting like equipment over to her and whatnot, and so I was kind of just helping out, and then one of them was like, hey, you're kind of good at this, maybe you should consider it. And I was like, yeah, I've always been considering it. And and I thought about it all through high school, and I did know a member that was here and was like, you should do this. And just my extracurricular activities just did not allow it. So I did become a part of the Civil Air Patrol, which is an auxiliary of the Air Force. And they had like search and rescue and first aid and things like that involved. So I was at least able to kind of scratch that itch by being with them. And then once I had more time after I graduated is when I joined the Flemington Rare and Rescue Squad. But yeah, that was probably one of the times. I've had a few, but we'll go with that one for now.
That's nice. So now like every shift or every day will look different, but what are some of the typical tasks that you guys do before and after your calls?
Okay, so when we come in, since we're both employed here, we clock in, we come in, we check our ambulance. So we have to make sure everything on the exterior of the ambulance is stocked with all the equipment that we need. Simple things, even like making sure we have fuel, making sure we have oxygen. On the inside of the ambulance, we make sure that all of our airway supplies, our trauma supplies, lifting and moving devices, splinting, all those items are ready to go for us. We also have a Lucas device, which is it's like a manual compression device for CPR. So we make sure the batteries are good for that, and we check the AEDs. So that's some of the tasks that like everybody does when they come in. Some of my tasks that I do separate from like Michelle is I take care of the building here, and so I clean, I help out wherever I can. I kind of do lots of little tasks that most people don't notice, but thank you, Michelle. There's always something to do, whether it's learning the territory or, taking time with a cadet to teach them the ambulance and teach them the process of what we do here. Working with new employees that don't know the area, and showing them stuff and how we do things here. And then, of course, once we come back from our calls, we have charts to write, and getting them completed in a timely manner, which is 24 hours, but we try to do it before the end of our shift. And so there's always something to do for those that are motivated. So okay. And Michelle, you have different ideas.
I was going to say that pretty much sums it up. For me, the one thing that might be in addition to or different is, if I'm on the truck, we come in, you do your rig check, we have station assignments. They're just general cleaning things. And then I have like a lot of administrative stuff to do. Okay. So if we're not out on a call or staging, so sometimes we have to, if all the other ambulances are out, we go to a certain location so we can be centrally located. But other than that, just, there's always administrative stuff to do. So I spend a lot of time in the office doing that also. Occasionally I'll get out to do like station checks. So I get to go visit the other crews that are at the other stations if they need anything, or work with them. When we get newer members, as Shannon said, there's a lot of things to learn, just even the scheduling system and the different training requirements. And so we try and get them where they need to be, and hopefully can, make their life a little easier whenever possible.
And how long are your guys' shifts?
So our ambulance shifts are, for the most part, 12 hours. So it's 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay.
Sometimes, though, people will then pick up the 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. or some people do 24 hours. I don't do that anymore. I really don't do nights a whole lot. But oftentimes, and you might find Shannon, or myself, and there's a couple others that work here that would be the same thing. We'll work the ambulance during the day, so do like the 12-hour shift, and then we'll come in at night and teach for 4 hours. So from like 6 to 10, we do that. So it does vary from time to time, especially on the education side. So the days that we're teaching, it's usually a 9-hour day with coming in, setting up, and then, catching up on paperwork and whatnot. Always paperwork. Always. Yeah.
How does like your teaching schedule look like?
Well, we just finished the course that you were in, and that was the summer program. That course runs Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, from 8:30 to 4:30 for the students. And then I think there were like 3 Monday evenings. So our schedule is basically whenever the students are there, we're there, basically. I was the lead instructor, so I was there, I think, for every class. I don't know if I missed any, but so when I am teaching and when I'm the lead, I'm in the program. I should be there every day, basically. And then if I'm able to, I'll pick up a truck shift on the days I'm not teaching. So the schedule is basically whatever that program is. So the summer one was shorter. As you know, it was very condensed and a lot of information in a short amount of time. And then we have our fall and spring courses, which are mostly evenings with Saturdays. So then it would be Monday evening from 6:30 to 10, Thursdays 6:30 to 10, and then Saturdays the 8:30 to 4:30 for the students. And then that goes, I think they have orientation August something, 25th. And then, so then it goes until December 18th. Or 20th, around there. And so it's a longer program, same exact information, same times, or allotted hours, I should say. But it's just spread out, and it works better for people who are in school or jobs, things like that. So it's not in the middle of like the work week and whatnot. So that's what usually the typical instructor schedule looks like. So.
So we, in addition to running EMT, we run refresher programs. So once people get their EMT, then they have to go somewhere and get refresher training. We run hybrid programs. So they actually do the online portion at home. And then when they come in, it's all the skills and the testing. So those only run about 6-hour days. And it varies. Of course, we run probably 8 sets a year, if not more. And then we also run programs like PHTLS, which is pre-hospital trauma life support. We run a pediatric class, and then sometimes just random CEU classes. Like we have one coming up on documentation. So the timing really, it depends on what program we're having and how many hours that runs. And we also do a lot of CPR training. So one of the things is once you get your EMT, you have to have a valid CPR card. If your CPR expires, your EMT card is also kind of in limbo. So you want to make sure that you keep up on that. So we run at least one program a month on the BLS level. And then we also, we'll do friends and family classes, and we do a lot of training for organizations that maybe need a heart saver CPR class. So there's always something that we can be doing.
How often do you have to take the refresher courses?
So the refreshers, currently it's refreshers A, B, and C. They're all 3 8-hour classes. So if you do a full day in class where somebody lectures and then you do the skills, or whether you're doing some of it online and then coming in person, it's an 8-hour course, and you need to do all 3 of those. For New Jersey to recert, you need 1 set within 3 years. And then for your NREMT, they kind of do it a little bit different. You need 40 credits, and they kind of divvy it up into topics. So you need so much in cardiac, so much in respiratory, local protocols, and then you kind of, according to what classes you've taken, you can split that up into the different categories to meet the requirements.
Looking back, like earlier into your careers, was there ever like a call where you made a mistake that you learned a really like important lesson from that still sticks with you guys today and like has shaped the way you approach calls now?
So I can think of one, and this is when I was really new. Like I didn't even have my EMT yet. I was riding as a third, as Shannon said, and it was a behavioral call, and it was for somebody who was suicidal. And I was new, so sometimes you're weary of speaking up because you're like, is that how you do it? Is that not how you do it? But the things I thought, anyway, so police were on scene, and obviously we were there, and she had made suicidal threats, but had been allowed to go, she wanted to use the restroom before we left, and was allowed to go into the bathroom unattended, which I didn't think was the greatest of ideas, but again, what did I know? And then when we were in the back of the ambulance, they actually had pills that they had hidden and were going to try to take them. Now, it didn't happen and everything, but it definitely was a situational awareness that you have to pay attention at all times, and you don't know what somebody's going to do. So for me, that was definitely like an eye opener that you need to be, cautious and not give that opportunity for somebody to be able to do that. So,
I was trying to think of one, because we've definitely you kind of learn on the fly in some ways, and I'm trying to think of a specific one. Luckily, I didn't have too many hard lessons in my career, but I guess I had one again years and years ago, and I was an EMT. And we had a call for a car that had hit a tree. The tree was hollow; it was dead and hollow. And yeah, there was damage to the vehicle. The guy was intoxicated, and so we did everything we're supposed to do, right? So if he's intoxicated, that means he's not a good historian, can't necessarily determine his his level of consciousness, because he was kind of, back and forth with some things. But so we did the collar, the backboard, the whole thing. And we went through our assessment, and my partner and I disagreed on which hospital to go to. And we wound up going to the local hospital instead of going to like a trauma center. And I had received a follow-up on that patient, and he was pretty hurt. His back was, he had a couple fractures in his back. There was a couple things that going to the correct definitive care is important. And not stepping up and being an advocate for my patient at that point in time was a lesson that I had learned. So he recovered, everything was good, there was no issues there. But they, you know, I definitely got the notification of what was wrong with him, and I'm like, I should definitely speak up a little bit more next time. So that's something that I had learned. So.
It's a good lesson.
Yeah.
Throughout your careers as EMTs, if you had to choose like one really important skill that you've learned, what would you choose and why?
Ooh. She's gonna steal mine. You watch.
So probably not, but you never know. So I would say would be talking to people.
It is.
So, I'm sorry. So like, I mean, communication's always a big thing. But everything you do. So like for me, I love my elderly patients, right? And most of the patients who we take, they're sick and they need to get to the hospital. But in that moment, what they really need is somebody to be kind, compassionate, and empathetic. And I think out of everything I do and everything I've learned, that is probably the biggest thing, is just literally holding somebody's hand, talking to them until they get there. And it's like we're setting them up for success. Like when we first meet them, they're stressed, they're upset, you know, and by the time we get to the hospital, we're laughing, we're talking with them. And so as we're turning over care, I just feel as though we're putting them in a better place than when we met them. And so for me, and then the communication could go on in a million directions, because it's usually, if something doesn't go well, it's almost always a failure in communication. So I think that if we all practice that one in every aspect of our life, we would do much better.
You're not sorry, I know. I should have just held onto the remote or the microphone. Well, so I agree. Definitely talking with patients and even like our partners and whatnot, making sure that we're all on the same page. And I mean, not to take the coattails of what I had just said, but definitely being an advocate for the patient and making the right decisions at the right time. So like choosing the hospital that meets their needs, things like that, as opposed to doing, you know, the closest hospital, whatever the case may be. But did you say skill as well?
Yeah, like skill.
Well, I can definitely say, because of teaching, I am a way better splinter now. I can splint. I can splint a lot, and every time one of our other instructors, Allison, when she teaches and she does splinting and whatever, I always pay attention because I always learn something. She comes up with a new technique or whatever, and I always try to pay attention. But yeah, splinting and getting creative on how to splint. I've had some interesting injuries where like the arm is not facing the right way, and you know, they were all smiling and happy and they're like, is it broken? And I'm like, yes it is, but we're gonna splint it, everything's gonna be great. And that woman, actually, she was awesome. She was a lot of fun. We laughed all the way to the hospital. So but yeah, I would, communication and splinting are some skills that I definitely have mastered over the years. So some sooner than later. But
how long have you been teaching for?
That's a good question. So I have my instructor for 2 years, I think now, and I've been an aide longer than that. So like, yeah, like 5 to 7 years. So I had started out, and then I think I kind of faded a little bit, and then I came back again like real strong, and so here I am now. So I've been you know, working that way. But I also have my CPR instructor certificate. So I teach a lot here. Well, actually I only teach here for the CPR classes. So I've been teaching that, and then as an aide. So we would have the regular instructors, and then like I would be here and I would assist with the different stations that the students were doing.
Nice.
So
Nice.
And I believe it's been 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. See, you made me think about that. That's crazy. Yeah.
Since you've been teaching?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then about 2 or 3 years prior to getting my instructor, I worked as an aide also.
Nice. And what's the most challenging part of being an EMT?
It's funny because I don't know if I think of it as challenging as much as because I like it. But for a lot of people, one of the challenging things is never knowing what comes next. Like literally you're just sitting here talking and then tones drop and you're going somewhere. But for me, that's not actually a problem because I think that's part of what I really like.
Yeah.
And everybody ends up with a different experience. You could be like, we all had 10 calls and everyone was completely different. So, trying to think of I guess part of it would be, as far as what we do is you see things and again, it can depend on, the luck of the draw that day. And there are certain things that you see and you see the suffering that families will have and the patients. And that's probably one of the hardest things. You go into a home and it's Christmas time and there's the grandfather in cardiac arrest with the Christmas tree lit in the background, and just like those types of things is because you see the families and the people and, that now they're going to be missing somebody. And so that's probably the hardest part.
Challenging for me. I mean, I definitely agree with everything that Michelle said. And the unknown is definitely can be challenging because you could get called for a respiratory distress and you walk in and it's not. Like third party report respiratory distress and you walk in and it's because, I don't know, maybe there's a language barrier, whatever the case may be, and it could be a cardiac arrest, like a motor vehicle accident out on Route 78, it's a very dangerous highway and we can see some pretty bad situations for people, and just trying, like, if you have someone who's trapped in their car and we're waiting for, fire or rescue to get there to cut the car and they're asking for help and there's nothing that you could do because you can't get them out of the car. Like, sometimes that's challenging and frustrating at the same time. But we communicate with our patient. We tell them, look, we're here. We're going to do what we can. When the paramedics come, they can, start providing some pain medication if need be. And every challenge, a challenge is different for every person that rides. My challenges could be way different than Michelle's, and then anyone else. It really is call dependent. I'm trying to think. That's all I really can add to that, I think.
After you get like a really emotionally intense or tough call, how do you deal with that after that, especially because you might have another call to go to?
That's a good question. So, we're pretty good about compartmentalizing in a way where if we leave the scene of a bad call and we either medevac the person to a trauma center or if the person didn't make it and our services are no longer needed, and then we get dispatched to another call, it's kind of just, all right, we're game on. We have to keep going and push forward. But if there is an issue and you're not able to continue on, then you'd have to speak up pretty quick, and then they'll make arrangements to, get the person off the truck. But a lot of it is talking with your partner because they went through it with you, talking to the officers, and reaching out to, family or friends. There is the, do they call it the Apollo team still? Yeah, so there's the Apollo team, which they send a representative out, and they do like a debrief to let everyone that was involved in that call. So it would be the EMS providers, ALS, the rescue members that from this organization, the fire department, anyone that was directly involved are welcome to come in. And usually, we have a bigger meeting room here, so they could come here, and then we sit and we all kind of say all of our grievances, and or not grievances, but like our whatever is bothering us and whatnot. And it's just an opportunity to get it off your shoulders in a way and try to clear your head. But yeah, it's sometimes people just bottle it up, and then hopefully that doesn't affect them down the road. But it's not the healthiest way to do it. Some calls you can just kind of like push it down. Other ones, we wind up talking to someone, whether it's friends or family or someone at the squad. And, sometimes just getting it off your chest just helps a little bit. So I don't know if you want to add to anything.
I mean, I think that pretty much sums it up. I will say, at least riding here and everywhere is going to be a little bit different. If we've had, and there's just certain calls that, or just they're not good calls, we will bring everybody back. So let's say Shannon was on a call, and we kind of have the nature of that, and we have other crews available, and another call does come in, we'll actually recall that crew, have them come here, get to talk to them at least for a few, give them the option to go if they want to go, and have other crews just handle other calls that are coming in, so that they can have some time to, because again, everybody handles it totally different. And it can be hard talking to people outside of doing what we do, because they don't always understand, how things work and whatnot. So it just kind of depends, again, on how you deal with things, and beyond, just that day and whatnot, is we have resources available for mental health that people can find somebody to be able to talk to one-on-one. And it's interesting because you can actually have a call today that you handle very well, and your life can change, and that same call can actually resurface in your mind years later. One example is somebody I know that had a pediatric death, which tends to be really hard for all of us. And they said they handled the call okay, whatever. But then they had a child a few years later, and it kind of brought them back to that call. So, just another aspect of mental health that it can come up at a later point.
What's your guys' favorite part of your job and like being EMTs, and what keeps you motivated to keep coming into work?
For me, it's the people. Like, I love coming into work, again, the majority of the time. I enjoy the people I work with. If you get on the truck, and just, especially when you get to, like, I've worked with Shannon for years. So if she's my partner, it's a fun day, regardless of what we're going to come across, because, I know how she works. She knows how I work for the most part. And I know that she's good at what she does. So that makes life a whole lot easier. I like working with Frank, who's our chief. And it just makes it fun coming in and having people who, you want to be working with.
We have a table downstairs in our bays, and it's like the crew table. And, it's nice to come in. We do our truck checks, we call in staff, we do our chores, and we kind of sit around the table for a little bit, and, we all kind of just joke around about whatever. And like that makes it a lot of fun. So just hanging out at the station. I like calls that are different. I treat all calls the same. I definitely will jump on a net on a non-emergency transport. I just think that makes the day go by in a way, and all we're doing is taking them from one facility, from the hospital back to the facility that they stay at. But the calls that are interesting and make you think, those are the ones that it's like, oh yeah, that's why I do this. That's fun, But again, when you're riding with someone who's also a lot of fun, so like riding with Michelle, anyone who knows me, I drink lots of coffee, and I pretty much don't stop talking all day. So I'm better at that now. I'm much better. So it's nice being on, even just the simple calls with someone who's fun, and then being on the serious calls with someone who's fun, because we definitely have our ways of handling things, and sometimes we might get something and then we're like, okay, can we stop at Dunkin' on the way back, after we've managed the call or whatever. But I think that's one of the things. What was the other part of the question?
What keeps you motivated to keep coming to your job?
Coffee. Let's see. Just the crews and the unpredictability of the day. I mean, I was lucky. I had no calls this morning, and I was very productive. I had, I got a lot of stuff done. And then same on Wednesday when I last worked, and we had nothing until I think 1:00 in the afternoon. So my morning was very productive. I don't really sit still. This is the longest I've sat still today. But
and no 2 days are the same.
Right.
And so that makes it fun.
Yeah.
No repeats.
Yeah. It's just a lot of fun. And like I said, something that makes you think, and it could be a lift assist, just getting someone up off the floor, but they kind of got themselves stuck somewhere, and it's like, okay, how are we going to unstick you? And, how are we going to get them up and whatnot? And, I don't know, sometimes that's fun. It's
sounds really fun.
Yeah.
What advice would you guys give to new EMTs or people interested in becoming EMTs or EMT instructors?
So I would say if you're interested, go for it. It's great to ride first to see if you're going to like it. So most of the squads, at least locally, have volunteer programs. So you can go in and you can ride a little bit and see if it is something you enjoy. Although I still think most people who actually do it really, really like what they do. Again, being able to go to it, they always say it's not work there's a saying.
Oh yeah.
Forget the saying. If it's not working,
if it's fun, it's not work, or something to that effect.
But anyway, if we think of it, we'll come back to you. Just go for it. Get as much experience as you can. Never stop learning. So one of the things I would say is, I've been doing this how long? And I love riding with different people because they'll do something a little different or phrase something differently. And you can always learn something new, and you get to help people. You legit are going places. Somebody's having a really bad day. And while we say, quote, fun, what we're really saying is, we can enjoy what we're doing, but in that time, again, we leave you better than we found you. I think that there's not a lot of jobs where on a daily basis you get to do something that can truly impact other people in a really good way. And for me anyway, that far outweighs the handful of, not good calls, or the people who, no matter what you do, you can't make happy. It is what it is. They're having I've had patients who were less than pleasant, but later actually grabbed us at the hospital and was like, I'm really sorry I behaved that way. They felt terrible. And they acknowledged it, and it's like, it is what it is. But it's a great job. It's a great volunteer opportunity, whatever, and if you're thinking of going like into a medical field, it is a phenomenal opportunity to get to talk to people, hone your communication skills, because it's definitely, you can go in as a 16-year-old and get to talk to people. And we do, as part of our assessment, you do a differential diagnosis. Everybody, to me, that one's huge, because I'm making a decision. This is what I think is wrong. That's why I'm giving you a treatment. And you get to become really good at what you do. And you get to learn from a lot of people.
It's cool.
What Michelle said. So advice, I would say definitely, do this, okay? If it's something that you've thought about, if it's something that you're interested in, if you want to help your community, all of that is, if it's on your mind, then, go for it, jump on that. You can learn a lot. And even as a brand new EMT, though you're not riding as a second, as a crew of two, there's still a lot that you can do to help your public. And I'd say jump on it, basically. And there's the class side of it. There's not a lot of like physical work, like there is, like we definitely have lifting and moving and things like that. The out of the classroom and on calls, we're constantly moving patients, and but the course itself is very what's the word I'm looking for? Like mentally challenging, I would say. There's a lot of studying, there's online lectures, there's tests you take in class. Being prepared and having the time is crucial for success in becoming an EMT. And I think that if it's on your mind, go for it, because it'll be rewarding in the long run. Oh, Michelle's got more.
So you also mentioned being an instructor.
Yeah.
So for the instructors, one of the coolest things is when you like go to the hospital and you see a crew come in and you know all of them because they went through your class. And then you look at people. So one of the goals for being an instructor is obviously preparing people and, but you also always want them to be better than you are. And so we have people who've gone through our program who are paid firefighters, who are flight medics, who are doctors, nurses, PAs, you name it. This was like one of their stepping stones. That is the coolest part.
That's really cool.
It's really neat.
That's really cool. Well, thank you guys so much for the interview. It was really nice talking to you.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you, and I can't wait to see the video online.